Welcome to America in Focus. I'm Eliana Kernodle. Today we're talking about the possibility of eliminating property taxes for some counties in Florida. Joining me to tell us more about this is the Center Square's regional editor, Steve Wilson. Steve, Governor DeSantis talked about this earlier this week. Can you lay out for us what his idea is?
Well, this is part of an ongoing process in the last term of Governor DeSantis being in office that he wants to leave Floridians with lower property tax rates. Because as you well know, property taxes are assessed about $1 per $1,000 of assessed value. Now, if we've got a real estate market like Florida where values are going up, your tax bill is going to go up every single year. Does it mean that you could sell your house for that? Maybe, maybe not. But the assessment means you're going to be paying more. So what he wants to do is cut into that because he says that basically, let's say hypothetically, you're a retired couple, which there's a lot of those in Florida. You've paid off your house. You're basically paying the government rent. You don't really own your house because what happens if you don't pay your property tax bill? They can come in, seize your property, auction it off. He wants to eliminate that. He wants to make it to where if they do levy property taxes, they're actually affordable and there's limits on the amount of assessments every year. But what he's talking about here that I wrote about is he's talking about making it to where these poor, they call them fiscally distressed counties, because Florida is a very different economic beast than most states. You've got the coasts where you've got just tons of money. I mean, they have tax dollars just falling out of their pockets because you've just got so much wealth. Then when you go into the interior of the state where you have a lot of agricultural interests, you have some small towns, they just don't have the tax funding. So what the state of Florida does is they appropriate money for these fiscally distressed counties. And I mean, I used to live in one when I was working in Florida from 2004 to 2006. So what they do is they supplement these budgets. Well, he's talking about completely making it to where they don't have to levy a property tax at all. And the amazing thing is it would cost about $300 million a year to do this. He's done the math on it. I've looked at the figures. They're about right. Because you figure if you're in a county that has 10,000 people, how big a fire department and sheriff's department do you really need? You don't really need much.
So how would this impact these fiscally constrained counties if they had this opportunity?
Well, for starters, the county commissions wouldn't have to worry about dealing with property tax, collecting it, assessing it. So you could cut some people right there because they gotta have a tax assessor's office. Secondly, I think that those counties would be magnets for like retirees, people on a fixed income, because hey, if you want to own your home and not have to worry about paying property tax every year, you go get you a homestead in a fiscally constrained county and there you go. So I think it would be good economically for them. But like I said, this is the first part of a move. What he wants lawmakers to do is to craft a constitutional amendment, put it on the November 2026 ballot, and it would require 60% of voters to approve it. That would provide some property tax reforms, make it harder for them to raise your property taxes, county commissions, cities. Also, you're looking at assessments. Limit how much your assessment can go up every year, because they've got some Floridians, especially like on the coast, where their property values are going up 10, 15% a year. And that's just not sustainable. If you're on a fixed income, you can't afford to be writing an ever bigger check every year because your income is not really going to change too much.
And you mentioned how much this would cost. It's minuscule compared to the budget of the state as a whole. But am I remembering right that Florida doesn't have an income tax? Do they rely mostly on sales tax? Is that where most of this money is coming from?
Yeah. And see, the thing is, Florida, one of their big drivers of tax revenue is their sales tax. And who pays sales tax? Everybody. It's a consumption tax. And who does it hit the hardest? It's going to hit tourists, snowbirds. You'll have people, the snowbirds will come down from the north, like the Northeast, the Midwest, even Canada. They'll come down for the winter, and guess what? They'll pay sales tax because they come down to party. They want to eat out. My wife's aunt and uncle lived in Cape Coral, which is in Southwest Florida, and they said that the chances of you getting a table in a restaurant during the winter was nigh impossible. You were looking at an hour to 2 hour waits at every seafood restaurant. So obviously that's a great way for Florida to raise money, and it's great for Floridians because it's taking a lot of the onus on them to support essential services. They're putting it on people who are visiting, which I think makes sense. And the thing you mentioned about the state's budget, you're talking a state with $50 billion in revenues. $300 million, as DeSantis said, is a drop in the bucket.
Well, and taking some of that and bringing it to those financially distressed counties where they're not necessarily feeling the effects of the tourism, that's kind of a way to bring some of that prosperity that comes from the tourism in other parts of the state.
It is because, like, for example, I used to cover sports teams in a place called Hardee County, and the main town there is Wauchula. Wauchula is the home of Ben Albritton, who is the Senate president. But it is not a tourist town. It is a beautiful little southern town. People are nice. It's a great place to visit, but it's not going to have the people going to Disney World or the beaches. So they're not going to have the sales tax revenue that, say, Fort Lauderdale or West Palm's going to have.
Well, Steve, thank you for your insights on this story. You can follow this story and more at thecentersquare.com.